Tonight I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to take a break from my tour of America and the cryptids within. Just to let my imagination run wild and see if you like the story that I come up with. It's a dark night. I was driving my truck alone. The only light out was a little moonlight glowing overhead, but mostly my headlamps. You see, the streets I was on wasn't well lit. It was actually out in the woods, to be exact. I wasn't worried. I mean, what's going to happen to me out here all by myself? Really? Some boogeyman's going to come get me? Am I going to meet Bigfoot along the way? Maybe a giant werewolf would jump out of the woods and attack my truck. Come on. Get real. Those things ain't going to happen to me. Well, I saw a hitchhiker. You know, this is a guy didn't really have anything with him. I'm like, you know, it's a dark night and there's no one, no houses, no farm, nothing around here. He might be lost. He might need help. So I pulled over, picked him up. Now, as soon as he got in the truck, he was quiet, and but he did ask me a few things, making small talk. What's my name, and where am I going? And it takes a lot of trust to pick up somebody on the side of the road, especially at night these days. Small details that really doesn't matter to the story. So we drive along down the dark street, listening to little music on the radio. Little country music. Good for the soul. And all of a sudden I hear, "Don't do anything funny." I knew I was getting in trouble when I picked him up. Or was I? Was I really in danger? Well, the gun pointed to me would have told me otherwise. It seems as if I was in danger. I looked down and I said, "Oh, please don't hurt me. What do you want? Please, just let me live. I got a wife and kids at home. Please." The stranger laughed at me and said, "You are an idiot. Picking up someone out here in the middle of the night by yourself. What you're going to do is pull down this field right here coming up. Take a right and go through the woods. And maybe if you're cooperative, I'll just take your truck. If not, your wife and kids may never see you again." Well, I'm hysterical. I'm freaking out and I'm trying to keep it together. So I look for an opening in the tree line and do as he says. I mean, I have a wife and kids to get home to, you know, and I was kind of stupid picking him up to begin with. Well, we pulled over, and when we got into the forest a little bit, he said, "Stop." I'm like, "Mister, please, you can have my wallet, you can have my truck. Let me go," he said. I can't have witnesses. And you're a fool to do what I say, and then we'll let you go. The moonlight just happened to shine a little bit into the truck. And I saw him point the gun toward me. He laughed. He thought he was going to kill me. As he placed his finger on the trigger, my right hand shot out in a speed fast enough that it snapped his wrist and knocked the gun into the floorboard. The look on his face was priceless, as he realized maybe it wasn't my mistake that was made. He reached toward the gun in the floorboard, and while leaned down there looking for his weapon, I smashed his head into the dashboard. Quickly, without a noise from me. Yeah, it messed up my dash a little bit, but it knocked him out cold. And that's where the fun begins. The man woke up in the woods, tied by a thick rope to the trunk of a tree. He tried in vain to undo the knot, but his injured wrist did not help him. Instead, it made it quite painful to even try to undo the knot. He looked, stunned and surprised, at the driver that he had planned on murdering. So you thought you were going to kill me. Do you realize I had picked you up on the side of the road for one purpose? To kill you. Or rather, to consume you. As a light shone through the trees, the driver's face got within inches of the hitchhiker's face. And his grin turned to a horrifying smile, for his teeth were all jagged. And you see a few of them were stained red already. But that wasn't the worst. The hands now ended in deadly claws, and the eyes had turned a pale yellow. The hitchhiker looked upon the driver as he desperately tried to kick. The driver only laughed at the attempt of freeing himself. He grabbed a foot, twisted the ankle until it snapped, and the hitchhiker screamed in pain. He screamed and howled, realizing that the table had turned, and instead of continuing his murderous spree across the state, he was about to be the one slaughtered instead. He pleaded with the driver, and the driver only laughed at him even more. Go ahead and scream. Scream. Cry. Be as loud as you want to. No one's going to hear you. No one's going to hear you in these empty, hollow, dark woods that you wanted me to drive into. Such a fool. Such a fool. You didn't realize the trap, did you? You killed what, 10, 20 people? I have slaughtered families, butchered children and women, like you would kill a chicken or a dog, and smiled as they screamed and begged for their freedom. And you thought you were going to kill me. With a gun. The hitchhiker tried to say something, but using the same speed that he slapped the gun out of the hitchhiker's hand with, the driver snatched off the lower jaw of the hitchhiker. He held the bleeding lower mouthpiece in his hand as the hitchhiker could only cry and bleed from his lower mouth. The tongue and teeth were gone, and the hitchhiker only dreamed of dying a quick death, but it was not going to happen here or tonight. No, the driver had other ideas. As he stood up, basked in the moonlight, the driver stood taller than he had before. In fact, taller than a man should be. So tall his skin actually split. And as he shook the skin off in great bloody lumps, the skin underneath was scaly. The face began to contort and twist as it became more reptilian. The skin on the back split as wings came out of nowhere and stretched. The hitchhiker cried and squirmed, trying his best to get away, pleading to a God that he no longer believed in for mercy. In fact, pleading to anyone in his mind and heart for mercy from this thing that was standing in front of him in the moonlight. When the skin finally fell upon the ground, the clothes with it, the creature fell on all four legs. It was long, it was scaly, and his tongue came out of the mouth forked and thin, tasting the air of the man that was terrified, bleeding, and yet somehow still alive. With a quick movement that can only be described as lizard-like, The teeth clamped on the throat of the man and crushed his windpipe, giving the hitchhiker a quick death, as a head was literally torn off the shoulders, dropped on the ground, and the bleeding body began to be consumed by the creature that was the driver. Was it demonic? Was it a devil? Was it part of the Fae? Or just some creature from nightmares that wore the skin of a human as an illusion? No one really knows. But all I can say is the same thing those teachers told us when we were kids. If someone pulls up and offers you a ride, and you don't know them, it's best to walk away. Because even if you feel powerful from killing and slaughtering and murder sprees, there's still always a bigger, larger, and more dangerous predator out there than you are. I hope you enjoyed this tonight. If you did, feel free to subscribe and ring the bell overhead, as it does help my little channel to grow. And next week I will come back with some more cryptid tales as we continue into Ohio and discover what fantastic, mythical, legendary cryptid hides in that state. Beware of those that hide in the Shadowlands.